Hi, everybody. Glad to see you again. And thank you for all your warm comments. It's really helpful to see that you're enjoying these shows. If you are new, I hope you continue to watch. We have lots of information to give you. And today we have some very special information. And this is about bust fit. I am going to show you how to adjust your pattern so it fits you through the bust, which is actually one of the easiest, if not the easiest correction to make in your patterns. I have brought in a special guest today, my friend Kathy, because she has a figure quite different than mine, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to determine how to get the bust fit right for her in one of the patterns she recently selected for me to help her make. And this is Kathy, our special guest. Say hello, Kathy.
Hello, and it's great to get to know you this way.
Isn't she great? All right, so keep watching because we got lots to show you today. I have a number of students that come in for private lessons. One, my friend Kathy, has decided she wants to learn how to sew patterns. She's an accomplished quilter, but she has some fitting problems, and we're going to be working on that. Yesterday we went shopping for patterns, and we bought this pattern. All right, now, did she get the right size? And the answer is no. But I'm going to show you what we can do about it and what you can do about it if that happens to be your case. All right. First of all, if you want to know what your correct size is, you measure under your bust. You don't measure your bust. That's wrong. The pattern companies have it wrong, and that is the reason that maybe you, and certainly at least 1/3 of all women who sew, maybe as many as 2/3, maybe even more, are having terrible fit problems with home sewing patterns, and many have just given up on ever getting anything to fit them. So first of all, you want to choose your pattern size by your bone size, which is your chest measurement directly underneath your bust. This is a fairly tight measurement. You want to lay the tape measure around your chest so that it is tight, but it does not indent. And you write down that measurement, and then, because the chest measurement is not on the back of the pattern packet, you add 2 inches. And that gives you the bust size on the pattern that will fit you. Did Kathy do that? Yes, but the sizes in here go up to size 22. Kathy wears a size 24. All right? Going by her chest measurement. Now, the bust fit is something that is easy to alter. So the last thing you want to do is choose your pattern size by your bust size, because this is something that can be easily fixed. And that is what this video is all about. I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, if you have a pattern and can't get the correct size, I'm going to show you how to get it. Here it's a size 22. She needs a 24. Do you see all these grading lines here? All you have to do is measure out the amount of distance between 20 and 22, measure it out further, and that will give you a size 24. So she can use this pattern set to get her size 24 that she needs. And I'm going to pick up my instruments and show you how. This is a transparent ruler. It's 18 inches long by 2 inches wide. It's used throughout the fashion industry. This distance here is 1/2 inch. In other words, this is being graded through the full of the body, 1/2 inch per size. Now, actually, that multiplies by 4. So this pattern is increasing 2 inches in circumference per size. All right, because the amount that is increases is divided by 4, and each section of the body, 1, 2, 3, 4, is divided into 4, and that's the grade that's added. I'm going to trace this pattern off using tracing paper. This can be ordered online, and many of the art supply stores carry it. This makes very good pattern paper. So I'm going to trace this pattern off, and I'm only going to trace the front pattern, but you would do this for all the patterns in the pattern packet that you need to make your garment. If you are grading it larger or smaller, you can grade it smaller too. All right, now I'm going to cut the paper. This is something my students, when I was teaching in college, were always very eager to try to do. For some reason, they seem to have a lot of trouble figuring it out, but it's not really very hard. All right, so now the tracing paper rolls up. I'm going to turn it over so it lies down nice and flat. And then, if one is very careful, one can just use washers from a hardware store to hold the pattern in place. And I'm now going to grade it one size larger. The distance that I'm going to grade is the amount between these two lines, between 20 and 22. It's safe to assume that size 24 would grade the same amount as the distance from size 20 to 22. Grade rules, by the way, are a set of measurements that control the fit throughout a whole range of sizes. Now, in the smaller sizes, this amount might be a 3/8, and in the very small sizes, the amount that would grade per side might very well be a quarter. But these are larger sizes, and as you can see, I'm just moving this slowly around this, and that's enabling me to get the curve. The length grades just a little tiny bit, so there's not much, there's no difference here. It all comes out about even. So I think we can just take this off the bottom and not worry about this. And I'm going to take my skirt curve. These are not that easy to find, but you can get them online, and they're really wonderful. And this is my favorite skirt curve. So I'm just tracing off this because Kathy is not all that tall. So it's safe to assume that she really doesn't need a pattern that's has more length in it. Whoops. Just cross out that line there. Now, this is center front, and all of the sizes are lined up together on center front, so all I have to do is just trace that. Now I'm marking the waistline here because before Kathy makes the actual shirt shown in the pattern packet, she will make a muslin to check the fit. And once she has the fit correct, then she can use this pattern to make a variety of styles. There's no need to go and buy this and that and the other pattern if the changes are minimal. And you can do this with one pattern. You can come up with a number of styles. That's done all the time in the industry. Don't think they draft a new pattern for every single style that goes down the line. It did never get done. All right, so now I'm going to go around this curve, and right here you can see that it's even. All right, and so this little tiny bit is like a 1/16 of an inch there. Here it's an 1/8 of an inch. Here it's a 1/4 of an inch. Here is 3/8 of an inch. So I'm just moving it out like that. Here it's 3/8 of an inch. Here it is still 3/8 of an inch. So just by bit, and now we have the neckline, and right here it's the same, and seems to be the same to about there. All right, now here. So now this is going back this way. So this is an 1/8 coming there. And this is where it hits the same. All right, and then here we have, see, this is 22, so it's coming up. So this is a fraction here. This is just this little bit of an 1/8. Bring this out here to there. That's where it needs to go. Erase that out. And this is a 1/4, so put a 1/4 there. This is a 1/4, so put a 1/4 there. And this is a 1/4, so bring a 1/4 up there. All right, and now to make this a nice smooth curve, you'll watch me flip these drafting tools back and forth, and it just looks so easy. But it takes a while to get used to them. So if you start to do it and you say, well, why isn't it working the way it worked with Laurel? It didn't work this way with me either when I first started doing it. So give yourself some time and some patience. And don't get upset when things go wrong. As is said in the industry, anything that can go wrong will. And believe me, it will. So you just have to keep working at it and fix the things that go wrong, and you'll get better and better. We now have 2 books and a booklet up on Barnes & Noble. One is Sewing Techniques from the Fashion Industry. This shows you the techniques that are used in the industry to draft and sew. A spin-off from Sewing Techniques in the Fashion Industry is 6 High-End Zippers. All of these zipper sets are also in Sewing Techniques from the Fashion Industry. So if you buy this book, there's no reason to buy this because all these zippers are also in this book. But we're making this available to people because it's only $40. And in it are 6 zipper sets as done in the industry. If you have problems setting zippers, this is the book you need because it shows you step by step. I've also finished, and this is also up on Barnes & Noble, Copying a Man's Shirt. With this book, you will learn the techniques used in the fashion industry. They are not available anywhere else. This book has also been tested and approved by my continuing professional ed students, many of whom worked in the industry. And here are 2 shirts that I made using my book. This is a linen shirt. I bought the fabric for just $9. This was one of the Christmas presents that I gave my son. This is made to his measurements, which were developed using this book. And here is another shirt that I just made for my son. And you can see that it's all been cut to match. There is information in this book that shows you how to cut and match. And this is matched not just in the front, it's matched through the cuffs, through the seams, on the side seams, as you can see, and down the front, the pocket. You'll be able to do all of this. Thank you for listening, and happy sewing. And if my videos help you, I really am happy about that because that is the goal. Bye for now. So now I'm taking this around. I've got a nice smooth curve in here. Here is where I messed up a little bit, so I'm going to just erase them out. I think that's going to be easier for me to do it. All right, and then I'm going to get a good curve in here. There. And I want to get the notches. See, they all line up like this because this is grading. That's what it does. 1/8 of an inch deep with notches, by the way. These are also notches, these little round holes. Okay, that's going to be the edge of the notch, and I guess this would be the edge of the notch there, but nobody uses V-notches in the industry. Actually, they do. They use them for center front, center back, and if you make a mistake, you put a V-notch in so they know use that notch instead of the straight stitch notch. Very, very important that you put a straight and cross grain on it. This, where the lengthen or shorten the waistline is both lengthen or shorten length line, and it's also a cross grain line. You must have a cross grain line and a straight grain line on every single pattern, no matter how small it might be. Getting the grain right is extremely important. All right, and here is, now in this case, the grain line, the straight grain line goes down, and you want all your patterns to be cut in the same direction from the fabric. There are exceptions, but it usually has something to do with something artistic, maybe the fabric you're cutting to match, and you've got something that's only, it doesn't have a reverse, so you can cut it the other direction, but that's an exception. Almost everything needs to be cut the same direction with the same side up because you don't want anything to have a distortion, and what may seem as if the same on one side and the other, maybe they won't be when you're actually finished with the garment. All right, now there's a dart in here. All right, so where does this dart go? And the answer is, okay, here's 22, 20, 22. They're all lined up, and they're exactly 1/2 inch apart. All right, so here's where the true bust point is on this pattern. Okay. Now, this is one thing that home sewing patterns often get wrong. They should always put the true bust point in the same location. This is the point here, and this is probably about 1/2 inch back from the true bust point so that you don't have, so that you have a certain modesty involved. All right, and now I'm going to bring this back. Let's see to where it comes back. I'm going to go through these circles here, and that's going to give me the notch there. Oh, this is on the sewing line. That's 5/8 of an inch in is where that should be. Okay, so that's where this should be. That's 5/8 of an inch in. That's the actual sewing line. I'll just put some dots here so you know what it is. And then this should come to about there. That looks about right. And then this is coming up to, see, it's coming up like that. So this comes to here. And it looks like this should come to here. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. Now, be sure you put notes on everything, because I think you all know that you're sewing and then the telephone rings and something's needed. Your kid at school needs something, or somebody in the family needs something, or maybe you had the day off from work and they need to come in right away. Some crazy thing happens and you got to stop what you're doing. And 3 days later, you get back to your sewing. And where were you? Well, if you haven't labeled anything, you might not know. So this needs to be in here. We're going to put down the pattern number on it. And we're going to put down the date and the year. I'm not going to copy off all these patterns. You've seen me do this one. And the reason I did this one is because we're talking about bust fit. And that's what we're going to work on. We're going to work on having correct bust fit for Kathy. And we know that with home sewing patterns, all seam allowances are 5/8. And let's see what the seam allowance is on here. They got a little circle down here. Yep, 5/8. The whole thing's 5/8. All right. Nobody in the industry uses 5/8 in a seam allowance, or at least very, very rarely. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the shoulder seam, which would be 1/2 inch. All right. Red corrects black. This is why I'm working with red. It was 5/8. 1/8 from 5/8 is 1/2. That's the new cutting line. Okay. Okay, the neckline is 5/8, but we want to use a 1/4. So we're going to mark it all down for that. And it comes down, so 1/4, 5/8 minus 1/4 is 3/8 come off. 3/8 around here. All right, and we can use the arm side curve. It's really designed for fit in the armhole, but works everywhere else too. All right, we've got a 5/8 and seam allowance down center front. All right, so this is going to be 1/4 inch for the lappage. Actually, it might be that Kathy will want to make a lapel out to come from here. So I'm going to leave this alone. And I'm going to write down 5/8 inch for now. The hem we're going to leave alone. The armhole has a sleeve going in, so this is going to be reduced 1/4 so that it's a 3/8 inch seam allowance. 3/8 here. All right, so we take off 1/4. Red corrects black, remember? Red corrects black and blue corrects red. So if I make a mistake with the red pencil, I then get out the blue pencil and mark it. And this is the way it's done in industry. All right, that's 3/8. Side seams get 1/2 inch. So this would mean 1/8 would come off because it's 5/8. And that's it. The seam allowances have now been marked down. The home sewing industry has what they call fitting shells, which are really slopers. The major home sewing companies use the standard sizing grade rule. These slopers that I have here are standard sizing grade rules. We've determined that Kathy's size is a 24. You can see that what I've traced off is a size 24 front bodice sloper. And from this, I'm going to show you how to determine your correct pattern fit and how to insert it into a pattern. The first thing I did was trace this off. You can see it's exactly the same as the one underlined underneath, but I made one correction. I moved the bust point to where the bust point is right for Kathy, all right? And these were measurements that were taken. So we measured from the shoulder down to the full point of the bust on one side. We also measured from both points, between both points, and halved it. So this line is half of that width from point to point. And then on that line that we drew down this way, we measured down from the shoulder the amount to the bust point. And this gave me her true bust point. So this is different than the bust point that's on the sloper. It doesn't seem to be a lot, but in the final finished garment, it will make a difference. After I did that, I then copied this and laid it on underlined paper so I could tape it down. All right, so here is the traced front. And then what I did was I cut here and I cut here just to this point here. Now remember, these are all sewing lines. There's no seam allowances. Kathy needs 3 inches added to her bust to make it fit her correctly, which means it needs 1.5 inches added per side. This is 1 1/2 inches measured from the straight grain line from the point of the bust. That's 1 1/2 inches. And then this has been cut apart. And the upper section is laid like this. And the lower part is laid like this. And this is going to increase the bust area in Kathy's garments. Now, I'm going to draw the true bust dart. So we're now going to use blue to mark in the true bust dart. I'm going to go, remember all these are sewing lines. I'm drafting from sewing lines. This goes in like this. And this goes in like this. All right. And notice that this is now lowered here. The waistline has lowered. And this is up high like this. So this has got to come down to meet this. There. Okay. This side of the waist bust dart is on like this. And we want to put back in the same amount that was in before, because we have widened, we have increased her bust dart here. But this is just a waist dart. So this is 1 inch. So that means it needs to come over 1 inch from here. All right. And I'm going to bring this parallel across here. And now, there is the bust dart. However, for the sake of modesty, we're going to move it back a bit. But this is her true bust point. And all bust darting is rotated from that. Now, because there was been quite a dip here and here, this probably needs to be curved in a little bit better. See that? Just that little tiny bit will make that better. All right, red corrects black. So that makes the curve in there a little nicer. Don't worry about the sleeve sewing into the armhole. The armhole has not increased in length at all. It's just been rotated up. All right. Now, what we're going to do is see if this really does fit Kathy. And Kathy is right here. So we're going to test this on her. But first, I'm going to get rid of some of this extra paper. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these darts. This is just a test to see if this works. Okay. I'll fold this on this line and bring this down to here. And you can see that these lines don't meet up. This has to be adjusted. But first of all, before the garment is ever sewn, this true bust point will remain there. That's where you rotate the darting from. But with the sewn bust dart will come back a bit for modesty's sake. Tape on this. Tape here. There. Fold some of this back to get it out of the way. This is down the front. There's no reason to think that Kathy has an asymmetrical figure, but some women do. And if that's the case, then you need to do this for each side of the body. I figure it takes 3 times as much work to make the patterns for someone who has an asymmetrical figure than for someone who doesn't. But it's worth the effort because in the end you have clothes that fit. And my students who do have asymmetrical figures have told me, one of them told me in particular, she said, I've never had anything fit before. I had no idea how good it would feel. All right, so Kathy, how much of this fits her? Did we get anything right? What do you think, Kathy?
Oh my goodness. I think it's beautiful.
There you go. The armhole looks pretty darn good. Let's see here. Let's see if we bring this. Oh, we may just need to change the neck and bring this down a little
And then
lower.
the waist, would that need to come down a little bit?
No, I think it looks like it's hitting your waist really well.
Okay.
I think we've got it. It's the neckline, but of course we'll make this in muslin. We will take the point back a ways. It looks like we did it.
Wow.
There you go.
Very good.
And now I'm going to show you what you can do once you understand how to get your bust area to fit you correctly, how you can eliminate the bust darting, because I don't know about you, but I don't want darts sewn in my clothes, and my students have told me they don't want darts in their clothes, so I'm going to assume that many of you don't want darts in your clothes. And the problem with darting, by the way, is, well, we all know that gravity pulls everything down. So if you have a dart sewn into the side in a garment this year, maybe 5 years from now, and let's face it, if you're sewing your own clothes, they're going to last 5 years at least, maybe the dart's going to be a little too high. So we can get around that and have it still fit you 5 years from now, and I'm going to show you what we can do. First, I'm going to show you some clothes that have been done where the dart has been eliminated. You've all seen this one on the show, because you've seen me wear this. This is a chiffon, and it is a plaid. Stripes this way and this way. The last thing you want is a dart going in there, because first of all, there's nothing that looks worse in chiffon than a dart. All right. So here it is. There's gathering there. There's gathering there. And there's gathering here. The dart was rotated so that part of it is down here, part of it's here, and part of it's up here. And that's how I got around it. Now, I could have even put some darting here in the sleeve. As a matter of fact, I think I did. It looks like I might have put a little in there. And that's what I did. You can also move darting into the front, but in this case, it wouldn't have looked right. This also has darting, but of course, the last thing you want is a dart sewn in chiffon, because it just jumps right out at you and it looks awful. There's the darting right in underneath the arms. There it is. That's all the only darting that's in this shirt. Here's a jacket that I made years ago. Here's the darting down in the waist. Just pleats. Now, I need a lot of darting. This is my motorcycle jacket. And the darting is here in these princess seams. It's in here. It's in here and it's in here in these seams. Been rotated into them. Princess seams, by the way, when you have a princess seam, you have a dart coming up and you have a dart coming down, and they're meeting each other. And this is a princess seam. That's what it really is. It's really darting.
So I have never heard of not using darts.
Why?
And I don't know why.
Well, because nobody told you. You know it's not out there, but you don't have to have darts in your clothes.
And it's nicer. And so what I'm thinking, what you're just telling me,
Yes.
is that you're using either gathers or pleats, what you think will look better on the garment, and then you're deciding where to put it in the garment.
That's right.
But I don't understand the rotating. And
It's
that's
an
what you're gonna
absolute
teach right now.
breeze. It's an absolute breeze. Wait till you see. All right, let's put this aside. So here are some examples of how you can use darting and disguise them. Now you'll see here that I've got a cutting line that's going from the armhole down to the true bust point. And you can draw a line anywhere you please in the front bodice to the true bust point, and you can rotate it and put darts there. Here, the dart is coming in through the armhole, but of course I wouldn't want to sew a dart like that. It would probably be gathering in there and would just ease into the sleeve. Depends on your fabric as to which one of these you would choose, because you want to have a really nice look. Here you can see where I've drawn other cutting lines through the shoulder and through the center front. All of these are areas where you can open the front bodice and incorporate bust darting or pleats or gathers, depending on how wide the opening is. Here you can see where it has been rotated into one dart from the shoulder and another through the waist. This, of course, becomes a princess seam, and that's what a princess seam really is. It's 2 darts. Of course, the dart could come from the armhole into the true bust point and down to the waist. Here you see a number of openings, and these little spots could each be gathered in depending on the fabric. It's a matter of choice. Of course, you don't want to sew any of these as actual darts. They wouldn't be darts. It would just be gathering. And in the next one, you can see that there is no line drawn through the neck. The gathering is going through the shoulder and through the upper armhole. And this depends, again, on the fabric that you are using. Here we have an opening of the dart that's coming in from center front. Now you'd have to think twice about doing this because the upper part of the bodice is now off grain, but this can be done very effectively depending on the fabric. And here you see a dart that has been rotated into the armhole, and then the front bodice top portion has been turned into a yoke, and this would very effectively hide the dart. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your darts.